Hey YouTube, if you liked the video, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment down below. I'll very much appreciate it. And yeah, what we here for? We're here for because I got a couple stories right here and a couple of videos talking about how Republicans are continuing to go mask off, seizing hatred against trans people. I kind of want to know why. Why do they hate trans people? So I got the first one right here, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who just coming out of the white supremacist rally that she went to, and all the other hatred and hate that she brings. Not surprised that she also hates trans people because of reasons that we're about to get into right now. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene appeared to suggest that the threat of violence is exactly how we need to stand up against trans and non-binary people in society. So she wants her constituents and her fan base to attack trans people. Okay, pretty violent. Okay, let's continue and see why. Why does she want this? Speaking on conspiracy theorists, Alex Jones' Infowars show on February 20th. Greene criticized reports that biologically male counselors who use they-them pronouns at a science camp in California shared a cabin with fifth-grade girls as well as transgender women competing in sporting events. Greene described the reports that the non-binary counselors at the Camp Pali in San Bernardino slept in the same cabin as the schoolgirls as evil before suggesting her husband would have attacked the counselor if her children were at camp. So now this is the quote that she has said. First off, if I was a parent and my fifth grade daughter had to sleep and showered in some kind of cabin at summer camp that I paid money to send my child to, and there was a man calling himself a woman sleeping in her cabin, showering with her, that guy he'd be in jail. He would be in jail, Greene said. And then she continued, well, first off, my husband would have beat him into the ground and then he'd be in jail. But this is exactly how we need to stand up against this stuff. Now, so she's talking about how non-binary people, I'm going to call them they, them for now, were the counselors, that's what it is. The counselors, they slept in the same cabin as little girls and apparently showered with them and did inappropriate things with the little girls. But now if you actually go over here and see like what actually happened, because this came from the parents of the little girls that were there, and apparently the parents of the little girls, the daughters, told them that they had a counselor that slept with them in the cabin, and the camp counselors went by they them pronouns, so they're non-binary, and the parents were furious at that. Why were they furious? I have no idea. Let's figure it out. I contacted the school and asked if they were able to confirm that there was not actually a man sleeping in the same cabin as the girls. A parent said they were not able to confirm that. It is unclear whether the parents claim that the children mentioned anything about gender. However, the TV reporters described the counselors as biologically male. Though the report noted that the parents didn't accuse anyone of inappropriate behavior, the reporter did say the parents were angry at Los Alamos Unified did not tell them about the policy of not identifying the sexual identity of counselors to parents. So what it looks like here is that the parents were just angry that non-binary people exist, and they were just being counselors to the girls. It didn't do anything to the girls. All they did was just sleep in the girls' cabin like any other counselor would have done. And that's all they did, because here it says the parents didn't accuse anyone of inappropriate behavior. So the non-binary counselors didn't do anything wrong. So even the parents who are being also transphobic, because I don't know if non-binary people are classified under trans, but they're definitely being bigoted in some kind. But even the parents that are being bigoted didn't accuse the counselors of any inappropriate behavior. So when Marjorie Taylor Greene said that the counselor showered with the little girls, she literally just pulled that out of her ass. Just lying, as always, like she has done before and many times. So, as we can see here, Marjorie Taylor Greene also just not racist, not also just not anti-Semitic. She is also transphobic as well, which is definitely not surprising. And this woman, how many times are they just gonna let her off and just forget all the garbage that she's pointing out? Because even to this day, before she said this shit, she was at a radio station. You know, I think the radio station were interviewing her, and they had callers come in, and the callers were from Georgia, where she's from as well, and they said that they were not happy at Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, these are people that are Republicans. These are people that have voted for her. Even the people who vote for Greene don't even like her anymore. So why do the Republicans keep her around? Well, I think just because I think Republicans just agree with her, just like what she's doing, and they want the future of the Republican Party to be anti-Semitic, to be hardcore racist, to be transphobic. But that, I would say, what else is new? The Republican Party has been that pretty much since forever. You know, even when they were called Democrats before the party switched, they were even that. But she's not the first one. Matt Walsh, a known transphobe, has put out a new video that I want to go over. Just this segment of an hour-minute video, so hopefully it's not too long. Seems like it's only like 14 minutes long, but yeah, let's go over it and see what bullshit he claims, because I guarantee he's definitely gonna claim some heavy bullshit.
Younger is a business owner in Texas and now a candidate running for the Texas House of Representatives. You may recognize his name if you follow a select few conservative media outlets anyway, because he's been locked in a years-long custody battle with his wife, Ann Georgelas. Now, at the center of this dispute is their now 9-year-old son, James. Ann says that James is really a girl, and she wants to transition him. You know, she found out that James really has a girl magically trapped inside him, and so she wants to do the transition. In fact, she has long since begun the so-called social transition, dressing him in girls' clothes, giving him a girl's name, Luna. Now, Jeff fiercely opposes this plan, as any sane and loving parent would, and has been fighting for custody so that he can prevent the further psychological and physical abuse of his boy. Ultimately, Jeff lost the fight, tragically, and the courts handed custody over to Mommy Munchausen. So Jeff...
Oh, probably because, you know, the little girl, I would call her. Well, I don't know, like, too specific, so I'm not going to go out and put in, like, oh, this is my opinion on this. Probably should have researched that before talking about this. But, however, if the courts decided that the woman is more fitting to take care of this child, she was probably most likely right. And I'll say probably because I definitely should look into this. And I'll also say that I do not trust Matt Walsh at all. This man has been known to lie so many times. He is a weaselly little liar. So most likely chance is that the woman, what she said was probably right. That their little son was probably seeing herself as a she. So the little girl wanted to transition from a boy to a girl, and the father probably just wouldn't let that happen, and the mother definitely wanted to. So that is what I assume of the thing. Again, don't know for sure, but that's what I assume.
Jeff is now running for office because he realizes that the only way to save his son now is to see to it that childhood gender transitions are legally outlawed completely. Now, to that end, as we talked about last week, Texas has gone part of the way. The governor recently declared that the medical transition of minors is child abuse under state law, under already existing state law.
Yeah, that's a bullshit claim. That it's just the Republican narrative that is child abuse, which is not, and that it hurts the child, which it doesn't, and that bill goes against science, goes against 99.9% of medical scientists and what they feel about the subject. So it goes against facts and reality, that bill.
And any adult participating in or facilitating the practice should be arrested and charged. Now, that's a good step, and it's an important step. But as long as this barbarity is not officially and specifically outlawed, it will still happen. The governor can only do so much on his own. The ACLU is sued to block Abbott's directive from going into effect because, of course, the ACLU cares deeply about protecting the right of adults to butcher, drug, and castrate children.
Of course, he puts in that narrative, and I think it's funny. As a Christian guy, I assume he's Christian. First of all, when children go through transitioning from one gender to the other, they don't get bottom surgery. That doesn't happen. Once they reach the age of 18, so when they're adults, that's when most doctors consider that can consider that for them to have bottom surgery. So when they're adults, that happens. So children just don't have bottom surgery. So when he talks about castrating little children, he's just straight up lying. And number two, as a Christian guy, I think it's pretty ironic how he talks about castrating little children and talking how demonic leftists do this, which again is not true. But also as a Christian, how he probably still believes in circumcision of guys, even though it has been proven that circumcision literally doesn't do anything to help the child. It actually just hurts the child as well, and you can botch circumcision, and it could happen. The botched circumcision can be so bad that they actually have to cut off the penis of the boy because it gets infected, and that's the only way to save his life. So I think that's a little ironic as a Christian guy saying that.
It means most likely is that the whole matter will be tied up in the courts for the foreseeable future. The Texas legislature has to act, and that's what Jeff Younger is calling for, and that's why he is running for office. And it's also why he held an event at the University of North Texas last night to discuss this issue and explain why, in his view, child transition should be criminalized. Now, the event drew controversy from the moment it was announced, and when flyers started going up around the campus last week. The president of the university, Neil Smatresk, responded to complaints over the flyers by condemning them, the flyers, not the complaints, as intolerant. In a campus-wide email, he said, quote, "I know the last several days may have felt particularly difficult for the transgender members of our community due to the intolerant views of a handful of campus members. We have a variety of resources through our Division of Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access to support you during your time at UNT, and we hope to offer you a safe place to heal and grow your support system." So, the president of the university, after scooping the LGBT complainers...
I like how he's not showing it. So, again, he could be lying about any of this stuff, but who knows?
...up in his arms, patting them on the back, swaddling them, assuring them that everything will be okay, the poor babies. He did finally affirm, though, the right of Jeff Younger to come and say his piece. But he also accused Younger of, quote, challenging the very existence of trans people. So the stage was set. The irrational beliefs and attitudes of...
he pretty much did do that. If we're still talking about how the Texas bill and how it's just completely wrong, and it can lead and probably will lead to more children committing suicide because they can't be who they actually want to be. So, that is true.
The radical LGBT leftists had been affirmed and legitimized, and that led directly to what happened last night.
Yes, we have been affirmed and legitimized, just as science and facts, and reality has legitimized, I can't even say that word, us as well.
Came to give his talk as scheduled, and all hell broke loose, in quite a literal sense, in fact. As many of the protesters appeared to be demonically possessed, outside of the event, an enormous pitchfork mob assembled, demanding that the event be shut down. We have some of that footage. Let's watch that.
All they're doing is protesting.
There's a paper on the ground. I'll Sir, I understand, but there is the free speech portion of it with it. So, yeah,
The guys, see, the officer is real. Yeah. All they're doing is using their freedom of speech to protest against the gathering there. So I don't see anything wrong with that. They're just using their freedom of speech. I thought we're pro freedom of speech. I guess not.
Pretty good crowd there. But they didn't settle for remaining outside. If they had just done that, then, whatever. But they flooded into the room and shut the event down themselves inside, preventing Younger from presenting his case.
Damn base.
And they did that by chanting and screaming at him the entire time. Listen to this.
The guy's clapping along. What the fuck?
You could practically smell that room from here.
Base.
Truly a collection of the greasiest and foulest, ugliest humans you're like.
Ugliest humans. They look pretty clean. They look pretty clean. Yeah, they all look like they take care of themselves. A lot of them have they have good hygiene, and like they comb their hair and shit like that. So I don't know why. I guess he only calling them ugly and disgusting human beings just because he disagrees with them.
Truly a collection of the greasiest and foulest, ugliest humans you're likely to ever come across. And they weren't satisfied to keep their tantrum purely verbal. At one point, in response to Younger misgendering someone in the audience, i.e. gendering them accurately, somebody stood
that's misgendering them.
up on the desk and spat on him. Watch.
Don't you record my friends. She did grab my camera. Record me.
Hey, police, I just got spit on.
Probably shouldn't spit on people. Just even though he is wrong there. I will say this person probably should not have done that.
I just hope Jeff got his rabies shot. That's all I can say. Now, when I watch all this unfold, a few things come immediately to mind. First of all, modern college leftists are apparently going to barbers who use weed whackers and chainsaws. They go to like the landscaper to get their hair cut.
But that's just modern day haircuts. I've seen so many even cis people, even right leaning people, fucking have those type of haircuts. Leftists aren't the only ones that have that fucking haircuts. What are you talking about?
Worst haircuts I've ever seen, all in one room. More importantly, I may have to pay a visit to this school. Bullies like this should not get what they want. What they want is to make sure that nobody who opposes them.
I mean, you bullied a bunch of little kids with your book and like sitting them down and talking to them.
Ever shows up on their campus again. They're trying to send a message. What they ought to get instead then is, me. If you're affiliated with the conservative group on campus there, please reach out to me. Maybe we can set something up. Most importantly of all, though, I think are 3 points. Now, first of all, to echo something that our very own God King Jeremy Boring posted this morning in response to this, you are a fool if you pay to send your kids to college. You are paying exorbitant, back-breaking sums to have your children turned into that. You're paying to have them.
Why is this narrative that every single person who goes to fucking college like automatically turns into fucking a Marxist? That's not true. If that is true, then why is America still like a fucking capitalist country? If like a majority of the people that are gonna grow up are gonna be like socialists and communists and shit. No, that's just not true at all. A lot of the people who come out of college come out being capitalists still. Maybe they become liberals, but they don't become leftists. They don't. So I don't understand why they just keep painting this narrative that college makes that happen to you. But he is angry that because it is known that more educated people, smarter people, actually are more left-leaning than uneducated people. So he just wants children become uneducated because if you're uneducated, you're more likely to be right-leaning.
Brainwashed. You are sending them into the most expensive cult commune in history, where their mind and soul will be eaten, and inside the shell that was once your child will be placed a blue-haired lunatic, beholden to a worldview so irrational and fragile that he'll melt into a puddle if somebody even so much as mentions in his presence that men have penises and women have vaginas. You are paying for that. You are asking for that to happen. You are going into debt to make that happen to your kid.
I mean, I agree that men have penises and women have vaginas, but not all men have penises. Not all women have vaginas.
Now, sure, there are some exceptions. There are a few good schools left in the country, a few. And there are plenty of kids who go into these environments and they come out with their minds and souls somehow still intact. I meet students like that all the time at my events, but the odds are stacked against them. And most are destroyed by the experience. It's just not
What?
worth the risk.
How you
It's not
destroyed?
close to worth it. It's definitely not worth paying $100,000 for. Two, notice that
God, this guy's so triggered. Oh my God, he's so
when I outline
mad.
the horrors of the modern university system, I do not say that the kids who graduate from these institutions can't get jobs. That's not one of the things that I list. Now, it's true that a lot of them indeed cannot get jobs, but we make a mistake when we point to all the tantruming gender studies majors in that room and scoff and just assure ourselves that, well, the real world will catch up with them. They're going to be unemployed, living in their mom's basements, rejected by society. Certainly, that will be the case for some of them. Certainly, it should be the case for all of them.
But it's not because, again, science and reality are on my side. Left-leaning side, not right-leaning side.
Not the case for all of them, not even most of them. The scary thing is that, in fact, they do get jobs. The real world will not catch up with them. I hate to say it. Because they are going out and redefining the real world. We are living in a culture and a country increasingly shaped by people like that.
Oh, look at him. He's about to cry. Oh my God, he's about to cry. Look at him.
Those kids in that room, that's your next generation of teachers. Those are university professors. Those are human resource managers at Fortune 500 companies. Those are
So they must be very smart. What the fuck? If they get these high ass positions, they must be extremely smart.
diversity consultants. They'll take their blue hair over to a nearby middle school and help to keep this self-perpetuating cycle of crazy going. In other words, those kids become this lady.
Let's talk about gender roles and talking about them in the classroom. So this last week, as you all know, was Valentine's Day, and this is what my students discussed through the week. Wow. It wasn't the first time they were talking about the gender binary. We already talked about pronouns. We had talked about girl and boy stereotypes. We had named those stereotypes. Talking about access, we've been talking about trans rights. Recently, we've been having discussions about power and dynamics of power in our society, which leads right into social norms, which leads right into the gender binary. Our discussions were amazing, y'all. This is my thing. Out of those discussions, we ended up moving into self-love because I realized so many of my students were already looking at themselves and at their bodies and even at their gender negatively. This to say that the gender binary
What's wrong
is
with all
constantly
this?
harming us day to day. Only a few people gain power from it. Everyone else is trying to conform to the societal norms. This harm, as we're already seeing, starts at a young age.
I wonder if he's going to provide any arguments of why that's bad.
I'd like to clarify, I said lady. I'm not exactly sure about that, actually. Now, that person ought to be unemployed, clearly, but isn't.
Why?
That
Why?
person is teaching your kids.
Okay. And it seems like well, I can't say he or she. Like I'm just going to default with they. They seem like they're doing a pretty good job.
One more point.
No argument. No argument. Nice. No argument because he knows what that person did was completely in the right and there was like nothing wrong with what that person did. So he has no argument. So he's just pivoting to another point.
If it wasn't already clear to you, hopefully that video we just played, and especially the clips at the university, wakes you up to the fact that there is no soft pedaling. There's no diplomatic, nice, or polite way to engage with these people. What they need are bullies. They obviously were not bullied nearly enough in grade school.
What? Oh, this guy is Holy shit, is pro bully. Okay.
Maybe if somebody
I
had
can't
punched
believe
him in the
that.
mouth in
That's
7th
funny.
grade, some of this could have been avoided. But instead, they've been coddled their entire lives. While
How do you know if they've been coddled? How do you know they've been coddled? How do you know if they weren't being bullied? What if bullying led them to, express themselves even louder? Like, how do you not know that or whatever? Because I know a lot of gay people and a lot of trans people sadly do get bullied because it was just who they are.
also being brainwashed. The only way to stand up to this and to respond
So okay, so this is the fascist argument he's making here of might is right. That's what he's making here. Just because you are stronger, that means you are right. That's what he wants, and that's what he wants people, his fan base, to do. And he's literally advocating for violence right here. And this is on YouTube.
to it is to be an even bigger bully than they are. So if you're on the side of truth, of biology, of protecting children from being butchered, castrated, and poisoned,
Then don't be a Christian. Be a left-leaning person. Because if you actually look into science, if you actually talk to biologists and other scientists, most of them, if not all of them, would agree with the blue-haired people, as so he calls them.
of basic moral decency, then you should project unwavering confidence and strength. They're all in that room screaming hysterically because Jeff Younger doesn't want to have his son castrated. Okay?
His son is not getting castrated. Why? He's just lying. He's lying so much.
spit on him because he doesn't want to have his son castrated. They are so upset about that they want this guy dead. They hate him
Because he seems like a bullshit ass person, a garbage person.
doesn't want to have his son castrated. Their position.
I mean, again, to a Christian, you castrate your fucking kids all the goddamn time. You just call it circumcision.
Worldview is the most twisted, evil, insane thing any of us have ever come across in our lifetimes. That's how bad it is.
And also how he's doing the fascist thing right here as well. How his enemies are both strong and weak at the same time. They're fucking strong because they can shut shit down, and how they're evil and they're gonna tear down society. But they're also weak because if you try to go up against them, they'll just scream you down. And how he says that they can easily be bullied, and how you need to attack them. Another fashy thing, garbage person Matt Walsh is, and I think that's enough for this video. And we just got another one, 2 more videos, and then we'll stop with this topic. The Michael Knowles show, pretty much the same thing, but he brings up pretty weird ass shit in this video that I just want to go over.
Mounts in Ukraine as Vladimir Putin is reportedly attacking even residential areas in his conquest of the breadbasket of Europe. The American establishment news media are focusing on issues that really matter, like the effect of the invasion on transgender acceptance. CBS News.
You really think that CBS, CNN, and NBC, and like all these fucking all these news organizations, they only talk about trans people? Like they just forgot about like the whole Ukraine and fucking Ukraine-Russian war that's been going on, and they only target the specific things about trans people. That's everybody who watches this knows that's a goddamn lie. They've been covering this shit like 24/7. Everything about it, everything.
This is reporting that, quote, transgender acceptance in Ukraine is not widespread, and changing legal documents to match gender requires a long process with psychiatric evaluations. I suspect the psychiatric evaluations go something like this. Sir, do you think you're a woman? No? Okay, you pass. Yes, you do? Sorry, you fail. Would seem like a pretty straightforward psychiatric examination. I digress.
No.
The network goes on. Quote, CBS News spoke with one woman
Oh my God.
in Kyiv who is now battling a war within a war amid Russia's invasion. The woman, of course, is a man, and the war
That's a
within
woman.
the war
That looks like a
is
woman.
a sexual delusion presently being crammed down everyone's throats by an increasingly decadent secular West. But the news report is actually a helpful reminder to the warmongering globalist liberals who 2 weeks ago couldn't
God, he's literally fucking boiling down every single talking point. Globalist, liberal, warmongering, like fucking calling trans people delusional, and he's just going down every fucking thing on his list. Now, I think it's funny how he calls liberals and this situation like warmongering when this war has been going on for about 2 weeks now, and all that the West is doing to help Ukraine is just putting sanctions on Russia and giving Ukraine weapons. They haven't sent in any of their own military people. So how are liberals right now fucking warmongering if they haven't even tried to send in their own military people to combat against Russia? Because right now it's pretty much just Russia versus Ukraine, and that's it.
have pointed to Kiev on a map. It reminds them, Ukraine is not your toy. It is not merely the area of the world where you can superimpose your own delusions and your own preferences. Ukraine is a nation and a people with its own beliefs and customs and interests and way of viewing the world.
I like how he says this, but by saying this, he's being pro-Russian because he wants the West to be to leave Ukraine alone. But by leaving Ukraine alone, it leads Ukraine to be completely defenseless, and it'll make Russia Russia like completely take over Ukraine way easier because it will stop sending in weapons to help Ukraine. And also, as well, Ukraine wants to be part of NATO. Ukraine wants to be part of the West. So again, it's just like he's making all of this shit up to fit his specific narrative.
And maybe if our leaders in the West had had even a modicum of humility and prudence, maybe if they had shown just the teensiest, tiniest bit of respect for those national differences and for Ukraine's unique and uniquely vulnerable place in Eastern Europe, perhaps we wouldn't all find ourselves today on the brink of World War III. But I suppose that...
You think... Okay, so this is also another pro-Russia thing. He says that this war is the fault of the West, which is not. Russia is the reason why this war is going on. Russia is the aggressor. And all the excuses Russia puts out on how they said they're invading Ukraine because they don't want the West to impede on their territory. Well, one, Ukraine is not part of Russia, so Ukraine is its own territory, its own sovereign nation, not a part of Russia. And if you can actually look it up and see that it's actually it's up to Ukraine to decide whether they want the West to be there or not. It's not Russia's to decide. So again, this is baked into pro-Russia, pro-authoritarian, pro-fascism blanket that he puts all over this, but on his hatred of trans people, because he blames this war on the West, which is factually just and objectively not true at all.
That sort of basic competence and judgment.
And it's funny how they hate trans people so much that they're willing to give away their freedom just to dunk on trans people. I think it's pretty funny, and just how they go super mask off with this shit.
It's too much to ask of a ruling class that can't tell the difference between boys and girls. Did you like that clip?
I do not. You said a bunch of bullshit and garbage situations there. So that's Republicans that are in office and also are talking heads. But I also want to end this off with a delusional, just Republican, regular citizen woman, and in Indiana, and I just think this is just funny. End it off with something more lighthearted because she would not get anywhere in life with this, and no one believes her. But let's see.
Christian Rosati, you're up, and Terry Wood, you're on deck, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm going to come at this from a little bit different angle. My name is Christian Rosati. I'm just a parent. I'm not a librarian. I don't work in a school system. I actually work in regulatory compliance and quality assurance for the pharmaceutical trial industry. I have a 27-year-old son.
Man, that guy just left. He was like, I know this is about to be some bullshit.
It's going to be about him. He was reared in church with morals and solid values.
Oh, Christians, of course.
Our lives
We gotta get rid of
weren't
Christians.
but we did have a very close relationship. I married
That's
his
probably a
father
lie.
when he was 14 years old. We had so many laughs, and we were all very close. We enjoyed spending time together, and my husband and my son had shared interests, so they became very close. Following is my story of how these relationships were destroyed, and I believe the reason is the exposure and influence of books that he discovered at school. In middle school, my son became interested in something called manga and anime. Manga is a term for Japanese comics, and anime is a term for Japanese animation. As a parent, I took those terms to mean typical comic books and animated series.
Well, they pretty much are, kind of,
I
pretty
ignorantly
much.
trusted that these things would be benign and inconsequential since they came from this school. I should have been more involved and observant. However, I can strongly say that he never exhibited any characteristics of being gay. The characters in
That's
both
probably a lie.
anime and manga are
And he probably didn't.
feminine.
He probably didn't open up to her just because I feel like her being like this, like delusional about her own, say daughter now, because I think her kid is trans. So I'm gonna just say daughter, or I might just say they. Then I don't know. Not too sure about that one, but I think it's funny how she thinks she knew all about her kid, but her kid probably just did not want anything to do with her, and probably was ashamed to be her kid.
Generally push an LGBTQ agenda, and they also contain a lot of sexual content. I'm saying that on a general
Wait,
level,
what?
there are
I have not seen any manga that pushes LGBTQ fucking the agenda, quote unquote. I actually pretty much been seeing like the opposite, how a lot of manga and a lot of anime make fun of trans people and make fun of gay people. You know, they're not as progressive as the United States, Japan. So I just think she's just lying here.
of course. Over time, I came to learn that these genres are part of a subculture. My son became involved in that subculture. He became depressed over time. And when he was in high school, he started cutting. I think the cutting stopped at the point when I confronted it. But then he emotionally and intellectually regressed. He became interested in Gen Con and cosplay. He started watching My Little Ponies, and he became a brony, which, if you don't know, I learned later.
That's
is
the
a
worst part of this.
subculture of older males who like the My Little Pony series. He became a collector of toy figures. He became more introverted and only interacted with others who were also into these things. And then he married in 2015 at age 21, and his wife was also deeply into this subculture.
Okay, wait, what? So he found love.
In April,
Holy shit, she's so mad that her kid found love. Holy man, she is such an evil human being. She's like, my kid is happy without me. I'm so fucking mad.
April of 2021, he texted me in the middle of the night to inform me that he was taking hormones. I was devastated.
Nice.
Not only am I morally and scientifically against this, but
No,
I
just
also
morally.
grieve the loss of the son I had known.
You're wrong though, but you are.
I
It's
realized
just
that I will
morally.
never have grandchildren,
Nice.
and my family legacy is now dead since he's my only child.
Oh, that's so selfish.
But your time is up, so if you could wrap up your thought, that would be great. Thank you.
Dude, Chad.
He's now dead since he's my only child.
I hate to interrupt your narrative, but your time is up, so if you could wrap
What a Chad. He was like, I know you have that bullshit narrative. We don't want to hear it.
Side of the aisle about LGBTQ you sit on, whether you support the agenda or not, you have to agree that the outcome is devastating. To have the destruction of
I mean, your kids seem happy.
relationship with my
I can't even say kid. He's a,
know that our family
they're
is
adult.
dead is a very heavy burden to carry. Human brains continue to develop well into the 20s. They can be easily influenced by many factors, like
They are an adult. They can do whatever they want now.
in the schools. And I want to reiterate, just in closing,
This bitch is hella controlling of her kid.
with HB 17. I heard talk about books about sex trafficking and support of books like that for minors. I find it very disturbing that we would want to expose minor children to that type of content.
Even
Adult
if it's
content, great,
saying that is
no
bad.
problem. But to have minors graphically described these incidents is just disturbing to me. I taught my son.
Ma'am, if you could wrap up, please, just for
Can you shut the fuck up, please?
I taught my son about those topics, and I didn't have to use graphic content at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Nothing. Nothing's gonna happen.
Being here, we appreciate it.
Delusional woman. She's probably a controlling bitch to her kid or her her kid, because her kid is actually an adult now. She said they're 21 now. Like, what the fuck? Whatever they do is just on them now, I guess, just because they're an adult, they can do whatever they want with their own bodies. But I guess that's not the case. But that is all I wanted to talk about there. Ended off pretty funny. And yeah, if you like the video, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment down below. I'll very much appreciate it, and see ya. Yeah, and it's also funny how it's like 100% of my friends in high school liked anime. 0% of my friends in high school ever transitioned. You know how many people fucking like anime? It's so many people that you blame it on anime is insane. And it goes the same with how conservatives also do this. They did it with comic books. They did it with video games. They did it with movies. And they do it with they did it with music as well, calling rock demonic music. They keep doing this shit. Every time there's something new and popular shows up in new culture and younger culture, they always say it's demonic. They always say it's bad. Just to show that older people are conservatives, and conservatives don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and they're garbage, they're trash, and you just should not listen to them at all.